King Corn beats be killing shit.
We was powers on this earth once, and we was all about the mirth once. Idol worship, murder like the first of the month. Hit a nigga with the bit like he need a light. That's what you do when you on fourth, or else you got a punt. But we ain't needed when we cried for Egypt flesh, nah. So it's Egypt that we got, and we hella mad. These crackers soaring off our shoulders like some helipads. They see our sweat, but they don't feel us like we holograms. I'll be damned, another black man shot again.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Y'all forgive me, I'm a little late, man, because what's the dude name, man? The Word and I. Y'all know who the Word and I is, the Christian brother from Texas. He was asking for smoke with another brother on his live stream. They was asking for smoke, so I went on there to get a little bit of smoke, man. It's been a minute since I've burnt the pack, so I had to do what it do real quick. I tried to actually start out keeping it cordial, but it didn't quite work that way. They got caught lying in a few places. Maybe they just were deceived within themselves. It might not have been in their intention to lie. Nonetheless, I'm gonna get that footage to you as soon as I can. But without further ado, we're gonna get into today's topic. Is Christianity a white man's religion? We just gonna be a backdrop, you know what I'm saying? I want to hear your questions and comments as certain points are made. I might put the link out there so that y'all can speak on your viewpoints with regards to the points that are made as we go. Make things a little interesting, shut things up a little bit. Let me get that footage on the screen. I hope y'all doing well. Also, let me know how my audio is doing. Let me know in the comments.
Your host, Tyshawn Jackson, and we are here again on Wednesday night with my co-host, Ryan Ketchens.
Big facts.
Inspired from episode 1, part
Definitely.
1 that we just did this past Monday.
Had to do an impromptu part 2. I mean, at this point, it's Apologetics Week at Harley initiated.
Absolutely, y'all. So we're going to find some answers. We're going to find the truth here today. Is Christianity the white man's religion? Part 2. Let's get it. before we jump into it, fellas,
disagreement. In addition,
just help me out here. We need that in this season.
Yeah. Only the most quality herbs,
in.
only the most quality organic herbs. They really hold it down. We appreciate that.
No, absolutely. And we got a special code in you guys to get a discount. Make sure you use that Ryan told you guys. But other than that, let's get to the conversation here, fellas. If you went ahead and you saw the conversation last night, if you watched part 1, drop me in the chat just so I can get a feel for who's here and what you have seen below. But before we jump into it, fellas, just be brief and brilliant, okay? Some people may not be familiar with what a Hebrew Israelite is or what you guys are. So if you can just briefly break down what it is to be a Hebrew Israelite where people can understand. Help us out with that, brother.
What we teach as Hebrew Israelites or as Israelites is that blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, and of course our brothers and sisters across the planet Earth, we're the true children of God, the lost sheep of the house of Israel, as Jesus Christ said, or Yahweh Shah Mashiach mentioned. So what we do is go out and give our people our identity, which most black people don't know their identity. Because once you find out you're an Israelite, there's a moral way you're supposed to live. There's a code of ethics you're supposed to abide by. There's a God you're supposed to serve. There's other gods you're not supposed to serve. You're supposed to separate yourself and be holy as the Lord is holy. So we go out to do that. We teach against drug abuse, substance abuse, black on black crime, white supremacy. So we go out there to wake our people up.
There you have it. Thank you for that very brief and brilliant explanation of what it is to be a Hebrew Israelite or an Israelite. Now, if you can, Adam, just help me out here. What's the biggest difference before we actually get into the topics between the being and what it means to be a Christian and a Hebrew Israelite?
No, I'm glad you asked, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions in terms of, where apologists are coming from, where Christians are coming from when we make that distinction between Christian and Hebrew Israelite. First of all, it's not about some sort of ethnic identity claim or identity claim in terms of where the contention is. The fact of the matter is, if you just had people who were of darker complexion claiming to be Israelites and they left it at that, they would never hear from Adam Coleman. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I'm not really concerned with the identity claim. I, in fact, do believe that there are descendants of Abraham, descendants of Israel, who are various shades, including the darkest of the dark to people of my complexion and beyond. So that's the identity claim is not the issue. What is at issue is that the vast majority of Hebrew Israelites tend to adhere to doctrines that are totally apart from Scripture. They will deny the essentials of Christian doctrines, such as the deity of Christ, the full deity of Christ. They'll deny the Trinity, that Yahweh exists as three persons, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. There are additions to the actual gospel as outlined in the New Testament that include identity.
So I'm gonna put a link in the chat. I'm gonna put a link in the chat. I'll put a link in the chat. Who agrees with the tenets of Christianity from a Christian perspective? Who disagrees with the tenets of Christianity, the tenets of Christianity from a Christian's perspective? Who agrees with the tenets of being an Israelite according to the Israelite perspective? Who disagrees with the tenet from Israelite perspective? What the tenets are? Let's make this an involved discussion. Mojo, Psalms, what's going on? What's going on?
Stipulations, so not all Israel shall be saved. Like the notion that only Israel shall be saved, as what we're talking about later, that is in addition to the biblical gospel. And once you add anything to the gospel, then you have a false gospel, and a false gospel cannot save. And so just for, we can go down a number of different things. I want to, make sure that we say that not all Hebrew Israelites believe exactly the same thing. I'm sure that my brothers across the aisle here would agree with that. There's various different camps and so on and so forth. But generally speaking, that identity doctrine is where we would certainly find disagreement, in addition to various forms of law keeping, meaning that in some way, shape, or form, adhering to the Mosaic law either secures one's salvation or is essential to salvation, one way or the other. So those would be two big parts of points of disagreement.
Man, thank you for breaking that down. That was clear, and helps a ton for people who may not be very clear on exactly what it is to be a Hebrew Israelite versus a Christian. So there you have it, guys. The fundamental differences between the both. And I want to actually go into the topics now. So Ryan.
Yeah, well, I just want to lay it out very, very clearly, guys, and we'll start with the Hebrew Israelites on this one. Is Christianity used to erase the true identity of Black people?
The answer to the direct question is yes. Christianity that we see today has an image of Jesus Christ who would not match the biblical description or geographical description of what Christ would look like. It also says that the Israelites are the so-called Jewish man that's over there in the Middle East right now, which also doesn't fit. So if we're talking about Christianity, and Christianity is about, also I want to point out too, the way Christianity was even spread to Black people, to Hispanic people. When they came over here in the Americas, there's something called the doctrine of discovery, where the Roman Catholic Church was allowed to use their form of Christianity, which is why we say it's the white man's Christianity, to come and give us this belief system with the sword. I would love to see in the Bible where the God of the children of Israel told the Israelites to make people believe in him by unaliving innocent men, women, and children, and then enslaving them in the name of believing in that God. And so when it comes to how we receive Christianity, is not the way the Lord, let's say if the Christian's position of spreading God's word was the truth. Let's say if that was the truth. The Bible doesn't say to spread it through the sword. There's no text that Christ told the disciples to spread that through the sword. So once Christianity comes and spreads it through the sword, then they are not Christianity. And that's why we say Christianity is the white man's religion, because there is no place for that in the Bible. So I would definitely start there. And then when we come out, there's a term, I think even you said when you introduced Captain Akkad, you called him a Black Hebrew Israelite. That's like saying the N-word. That's like saying Christian in the Bible. When they call them Christian in the Bible, it's like saying Black Hebrew Israelites. Like, oh, that's just the Black Hebrew Israelites over there. Oh, that's just them Christians over there. It was not a term of endearment. It was not a term of love. It was a hatred for those that follow Christ. And that's why they put the stigma of Christian on them in the Bible. So it's the same way they put the stigma on us. We don't unalive people. We don't harm people. We speak about the crimes that have been committed against us. So when we come out here and say we are the people of the book, we are ridiculed, we are made the joke, and we are told that it is impossible for us to be the children of Israel. But when a white man comes out there and he says, I'm the Israelite or I'm the Jew, it's just easily accepted. And that's the biggest problem that we have with Christians. Even the Christians, I'll determine that if it's on this panel, and then other Christians, because we can't be the children of God. We got to be the.
So far, I would agree with Christianity is used to obscure identity, especially when it comes to Black and brown people. It's always problematic when we want to pick up a identity beyond Christ, right? Then all of a sudden our identity should just be in Christ, blah, 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 that rhetoric. But the delivery of all this information is a little bit convoluted, right? So I would like to see it be made more about the Bible. So far, we see references to the conquistador, for example. It would be good to focus more on that, how in times that were a little bit more ancient, it was used, or to fix on now in the modern day how doctrinally it's used. But I'm not gonna lie, right now, this is a bit of a word salad, right? I would want to see it be more concise, even though I agree that Christianity as it stands is a white man's religion, in the sense that it is weaponized by the white man in the image of white supremacy. But what y'all think? Let me know in the chat. Would you like to hear a better argument from an Israelite perspective? Is this argument perfect? One in the chat if you think it's perfect. Two, if you want to see something better made. I want to know how you all feel too. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
Adopted children of God because Jesus died. Because God forbid the word nigger is in the Bible. Excuse me. I'm saying that because it's in the Bible. That word is in the Bible. Jews being described as being black is in the Bible. Christ being described.
I would say this is problematic in the sense that black, in terms of Neger and identity, it's still obscure. So it really doesn't matter that they're called Neger outside of being able to say the apostles were dark skinned. Neger is not a identifier beyond dark skin. All the dark nations was called Neger in antiquity. All the dark peoples, whether they was Israelite or not.
As being black is in the Bible. So Christianity is about truth. Like Christ said in John 8:32, ye shall know the truth and the truth shall make you free. So if it's about truth, why wouldn't we depict the greatest man that ever lived as he's described in the Bible? So once they change that, they actually hate the black people. Because if they loved Christ, they would depict him as the Bible says, not as some stringy haired white dude that they came out in the Renaissance era a year.
Understood. Captain Akkad, did you have anything to add before we moved over to our Christian brothers?
I would like to add something on the end of what Captain Nazariak just brought out. All of these things are evident because when you look at what is in society as fixtures or characters of the Bible, they are all one race. They are all one race of people. And just earlier, the gentleman said he believed that, Hebrew Israelites may be all different colors and all different races and such and such and such and such. You understand? But he still wants everybody to be saved. Who is that one race of people he wants to be saved? White people. It's always about white people. Do you know why? Because Christianity is based in white supremacy. Everything about Christianity puts white people above everybody else. That's why in the white man's movies, Moses is white, the Egyptians is white, Jesus Christ is white. Even though we all know Jesus Christ could never have been white. The very fact that you want to join those people to the salvation of the Bible is because you have been affected and subjected to white supremacy. And that is what Christianity promotes. I yield.
There you have it. Very strong words from the brother Captain Akkad there. And I want to give my Christian brothers an opportunity to speak. To be honest, I had my brother Adam speak first last time. So I'm going to ask BK. Yeah. BK, can you just give us a response to that? And by the way, the question here, so we're clear on what we're discussing here.
And I believe because the main ideas was the inaccurate depiction of Jesus, how Christianity was spread. Yeah. So if you could address those guys, is Christianity used to erase the identity of black people?
All right, great. So, it's always important for us to define terms, right? So we're talking about the term Christianity, right? Mm-hmm. So let me get a little, nerdy here real quick. Let's deal with the suffix of the word, right? The IT and the Y, right? That suffix is used to describe a state or quality or property of the adjective, right? So that's the suffix of the ity of Christianity, right? Shalom. The word Christian, right, from the Greek means anointed, right? In this case, the anointed one, right? So Christianity is the state or quality and belonging and being part of Messiah, right? That's what the word actually means. Right now, if you are practicing to be a state or quality of Messiah, it's good. And I will say that in a powerful way, right? So Luke chapter 9, for instance, then he said to them all, if anyone wants to follow after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life of me will save it. Right. So there is a dramatic change of identity if you are practicing and being a state or being of Messiah. 2 Corinthians 5 says, therefore, if anyone's in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. See, the new has come. Right. There's a changing of identity here. right? In Galatians 2:20, I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. Ephesians 4, starting in verse 22. To put off your old self, which belongs to your former manner of life and is corrupt through deceitful desires, and to be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and to put on the new self, created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness. So yeah, your identity gets changed if you are practicing to being part of Messiah.
The big flaw in that is that there's people who are Christians in the Bible, quote unquote, right? They're following Christ. And that's how they identify as servants of Christ, but they still identify themselves within their nationhood. So I do see a problem where they kind of overdo it in modern Christianity. Christ is still acknowledged as a Jew. You know what I'm saying? The first century Christians, quote unquote, they were still referred to as Jews. Even though they weren't called Christians, they were followers of Christ, right? So they began to identify with his teachings, yet they were still Jews. The Corinthians were still Israelites. Paul didn't want them to be ignorant of that fact. So this is very interesting. Feel free to click the link if you agree with Alfredo Valentin. Click the link if you agree with Zariak. Click the link if you don't agree with either one. Let's hear your premise. I believe on both sides we're either overselling it or underselling it. It could be more concise on the part of the UPK brothers at this point. A lot of information you don't want to overload. You want to pick a concise example and just harp on it, build that. Otherwise, at some point it do just become a bunch of rhetoric. You know, you want people to be able to take some facts home, write some notes, not just some quotes from the speaker. Same with Alfredo Valentin. He got a little more concise, but scripturally, I'm not seeing examples of people that just forgot what nation they came from in the scriptures. This is him now giving his dogma.
Now, there have been evil, despicable white people for hundreds of years who have went out their way to completely destroy and brutalize the identity of Black and brown people. But those people were not in a state of being like Messiah. What they were showing was not actual Christianity. It was vastly different than what the Messiah teach. And a person who articulated that difference so well was Frederick Douglass. This is what he says about that difference, and I'll finish here.
Now, him acknowledging it, the problem is that Christianity was still weaponized. And the way that it was weaponized also allowed for it to be the policy with regards to the religion itself, right? Policy meaning that you got to do it this way. You got to acknowledge the Trinity. These are things that are coming from the church fathers, and then it's rolling all the way through the Spanish. So the problem is that it's still presenting itself as a white man's religion. It is, in fact, hijacked by Europeans. It doesn't start off that way. And then it is weaponized by Europeans. And it is spread the way Zariak said. So this is kind of a weak point right here, I would say.
Between the Christianity of this land,
Taz in the building, shalom, brother,
and the Christianity of Christ, I recognize the widest possible difference. So wide that to receive the one as good, pure, and holy is of necessity to reject the other as bad, corrupt, and wicked. To be the friend of the one is of necessity to be the enemy of the other. I love the pure, peaceable, and impartial Christianity of Christ. I therefore hate the corrupt, slave-holding, women whipping, cradle plundering, partial and hypocritical Christianity of this land. Indeed, I see no reason but the most deceitful one for calling the religion of this land Christianity. And I yield.
There you have it. Adam, can you add to that?
Christianity now, though.
Yeah, man. You know, I'm gonna be I'm gonna try to be brief.
White people are forgiven under the current Christianity, so it's the same Christianity. He's coming with some heat. He's coming with some historic quotes, and I love it. I'm energetic about that. But I would argue, okay, well, Christ teaches that you're supposed to give back to your neighbor what was stolen from them, just like the law does. The white man has not done this. With Christianity, he's able to say, live on and forget and forgive. The Bible says that these people are going to be recompensed. The Bible says that these people are going to be recompensed for their theft. And you got to repent from the things that you're doing wrong. White people in America ain't repenting from living off of white privilege. And by white privilege, I mean the ability to receive what their ancestors stole and plundered without having to give it back. That's problematic. Feel free to disagree with me. You could click the link and do so. It is my stance that you cannot be a good white Christian and American at the same time. That's my stance.
Because I can. I ain't gonna lie to you. I try to prepare as best I can for these exchanges, and I had some things I wanted to say, but I just can't get past the opening statements by Tazariak and the brother here. Excuse me, I'm lapsing on your name right now. Hakai, forgive me. Here's what I think is interesting. Going back to Hakai talking about white supremacy, right? I want everybody in the audience to think about the response that Tazariak gave to the question. Where did he begin his historical analysis? He began with our enslavement, colonization, and oppression, right? Now, I don't know, I got a little bit of age on me, right? And what I can recall when I was coming up, for the most part, when we're taught about our history, typically that's where our whole history is framed around our predicament here in the Americas. Like as if we just sprouted up on the cotton fields as slaves, like there was nothing about us before then. Our whole history revolves around slavery. That is a white supremacist tunnel vision rendering of our history. I find it fascinating that out of his mouth at the outset, his understanding of our history in relation to Christianity is indeed shaped by a white supremacist framework, right? The fact of the matter is our history.
Oh, I would say that's underhanded. I would say it's underhanded, even though I would have made the argument better. All Tazariak did was use an example of how Christianity was weaponized. He's not saying that was the beginning of Christianity. That wasn't his stance. But Adam Coleman thinks he sees a weak point and he's tackling it. I can appreciate it as somebody who likes to see a good fight. But this is a weak attempt, I will say. This is a weak attempt. I like the aggression. I like the tenacity. I like to see the assertiveness. But bad move. I want to see how this is counted.
History doesn't begin with the cotton fields. Our history with Christianity doesn't begin with the cotton fields. You can't get out of the first century, all right, without seeing evidence of African Christians. You can't. I'm saying.
Oh, you can't. But then when you start to see, I know the brothers in the fire God, we talked about this earlier, you begin to see the Marcionites and people like him pop up and how their doctrine became what Christianity is today, which is offshoot of Gnosticism, teaching that we're blessed, we're saved, so we can do whatever we want. A Christian will be like, we have to obey God, but it's real fast and loose, and that you don't have to keep the commandments that are done away with. Same arguments as Marcion and the Ebionites. In fact, he hated the Jews, so it means that these black folks that was Israelites, he was a big part of the first century Jews being stomped out. He furthered that endeavor, stomping out the remnants of the first century Jews and the people that come from that lineage. And this is the beginning, again, of where Christianity does start to be Europeanized.
We could, as a matter of fact, my brother Damon and Jerome, shout out to them. They talked about it the other day. I mean, we're talking about, for goodness sake, ancient Nubia, being a Christian nation from about the 15th century to about the 1300s or so. I mean, that's a Christian nation on the continent of Africa for about 1,000 years before colonialism. We're talking about Ethiopia, being the first established Christian nation, which obviously was an African nation. We're talking about guys like Tertullian, who was an African theologian going back to the 2nd century. We're talking about legends like St. Augustine.
I would agree. Tertullian's from Tanzania, or I think he's from Tanzania. What else did you have? You had I don't know how to say his name. It's like Cyprin or Cyprin. Somebody that knows the church father would know, but he was from Carthage, I believe. You know what I'm saying? So you did have black church fathers, but I don't think it takes away from what Tazariak said.
Who we know was an African because his mother's name was Monica, which was a Berber name, which is an indigenous African tribe. Our history spans 2,000 years on the African continent, and all they have to talk about is what happened from like the 1600s or so. That's depressing. If that's your understanding of history, if you've imbibed a white supremacist leaning understanding of history, then no wonder you don't have an accurate view of Christianity. The fact of the matter is, I'm gonna try to be brief. If you think about the major nations that enslaved our people, the English, Danish, French, Portuguese, and so forth, the oldest of those nations in terms in any way looking like it is now would be the British, right? It's the oldest of those nations going back to about the 5th century, which means that Christianity was flourishing in Africa for 5 centuries before any of the nations that enslaved our people even existed. What are you talking about? The Christianity is the white man's religion? That's ridiculous. As my man pointed out, BK, the fact of the matter is there is not one single core doctrine of Christianity that hinges on or somehow entails erasing our ethnic identity. To affirm that God is God's Trinity. Jesus rose from the dead. Jesus is Lord. Affirming the scriptures, Jesus returned. There's no doctrine from Christianity that entails erasing black people's history, anybody else's history for that matter. Now, I will say this, and I'm going to end out here. There is a worldview represented on.
So BK apologists and Adam Coleman really should have a back and forth on this topic because they've given some information that could be confusing. So the question is, what's the difference between what BK apologists and Adam Coleman just say? BK apologists did just bring out an idea that one's identity is becoming Christian. Now, what I've said is that that's overdone and it's over enforced amongst blacks and Hispanics. It's over encouraged against blacks and natives. We are encouraged to think of ourselves as Christian and not think of our nation.
On this panel that is committed to or entails erasing black identity, and it's Hebrew Israelites worldview. Because when you think about it, if you believe that first of all, only Israel can be saved, or if you take the version of which I believe Tazariak has articulated before, the Israelites are like first-class citizens in the new kingdom, and everybody else is going to be under that in some level of subjection. If that's what you believe, then first of all, you're out of step with the gospel as detailed by the apostles. But as I hope y'all would be honest to speak to this, y'all would, when y'all say black, y'all don't necessarily really mean black. What you mean is blacks of a Shemite ancestry.
That's not
because when it comes to Hamites, you guys are on record as making disparaging remarks about dark-complected people who are Hamites. When it comes to the identity that black people have built on this continent, coming from the people who were cobbled together from various different tribes and so on and so forth, even in the face of oppression, forging a new and powerful identity that helps us to transcend levels of oppression. Y'all sneer at that. That's not sufficient. That's not enough. We had to throw away all of what we built here in this country and in the Western world because that didn't satisfy you. No, we got to be Israelites. I'm okay with being Adam Coleman, whose folks came where they came from in the Western world, taking from Africa and so forth. I don't have a problem with that.
So to him, look, he's like, man, so what if our parents was oppressed and then they became Greeks because they felt oppressed and they wanted a better life and the things that they did to get a better life? That's problematic in the sense of what we saw with the Hellenistic period and what it did to separate Israelites from the Most High through Greek culture. If we just take it back that far, we would understand that the Most High is displeased with over-identifying with the oppressor. And the argument on the table is that Christianity allows that to be done. And I would love to see that be demonstrated a lot better than just a few buzzwords being thrown around or arguments being loosely used. I want to see some depth because this is trash. I wish that I could have been on this panel so I could cook. This is crazy. I'm wondering if they're willing to do a part 2 of this.
I'm okay with who I am. I don't have to subject myself or internalize white supremacist rendition of identity and then cast off my blackness just so I can take on being an Israelite. For anybody out here who actually is Israelite, God bless you, I have no problem with that. You still need to be saved in Jesus' name.
Here go the thing. If you an Israelite, you're saved in Jesus' name. The Israelites still got to keep the commandments. That's the thing. The Israelites have to keep the commandments. There's no way around it. You can make an argument for Gentiles not keeping the commandments if you wanted to try. But the Israelites, there's not a way around it, bro. I just got off this live stream. We talked about Isaiah 56. I asked them, in your purview, how do you deal with Isaiah 56? Because it deals with Gentiles being able to come unto the Lord, and y'all will use it for that. But when it comes to the commandments, you'll play a game with it. You know, it's a sick ass game. So even if you want to think you're a Gentile, Adam Coleman or any other Christian, any nigga that just identify as a black in general, and you see yourself as a Gentile, you still even have to come into reconciliation with the commandments. If you want to try to make an argument with, well, that's for the Israelites, then you would want to do your due diligence and find out who you are so you understand what the requirements for you are. You see what I'm saying? Even on these little minute levels, it's an important thing. Again, this is why Paul told those Corinthians, I would not that you should be ignorant with regards to your identity, who your parents were, whose children you are.
At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. But if there's anybody that has a problem with blackness on this panel, it's Cesaria and my brother over here. You know what I'm saying? It's that simple. Unless you guys have let go of that insidious doctrine of ranking people and valuing people less than as on the basis of whether or not they're Israelite. So I'll camp out there.
Cesaria, how do you respond to that, Captain, about that? So specifically about the ranking of individuals based on their status with the Israelites.
I'll touch on that. Before I respond, can you just repeat the initial question that you asked, please?
Yes, I can. Is Christianity used to erase the identity of black people?
Thank you. Listening is an art. And you're going to hear me say listening is an art a lot. Because these two gentlemen do not listen. This man just broke down ITY. I almost thought this cat was a Muslim. You know when Muslims say tell our vision, because they tell a lie with the vision. Instead of answering the question directly. Yes, I brought up slavery. Yes, I didn't bring up just slavery. I brought up the doctrine of discovery. Because what was important about the doctrine of discovery was that when the Roman Catholic Church spread their Christianity, which is what black people received, black people did not receive first century Christianity. They did not receive first century Israelites. When we received this Christianity, it erased the greatest black man to ever exist, which is Jesus Christ. Out of everything that they responded to, why they didn't touch on why this Christianity got rid of black Jesus? Why this Christianity didn't describe Jesus as he's described in the Bible? Because for sure, he don't have blonde eyes and blue eyes in the Bible. He don't have blonde stringy hair in the Bible. And he don't have white skin in the Bible. So when you say I'm talking about white supremacists,
Shalom.
Because they are white Jesus to us, and then we as Israelites bring the truth of Christ. Christ says, he that believes on me, as the scriptures have said, out of his belly shall flow living waters. That's John 7:38. So they're bringing living waters, and that white man brought black Jesus to us. And then the cat quotes Frederick Douglass saying that the Christianity that the slave master gave us was wrong, but yet he's still teaching it.
That's a cut.
I've heard Douglas telling you that's the wrong Christianity, and then you still teach the same Christianity the slave master gave us. Ain't nobody addressed that. And I want the people that's listening to pay attention. Nobody bothered to touch that because that's the most important. And you know why that's important? Everybody, the only race of people that will serve a God that don't look like them is us. is black people. White people are not going to serve a God or a king that don't look like them. So you are not going to give white people a black God or a black Jesus and say, this is your God and they say, okay, I'm going to serve that. You're not going to give the Arabs a white Jesus or even a black God and they're going to say, I'm going to serve that. They're going to find the belief, even the Africans he mentioned, Africans, they're not going to serve a God that doesn't look like them. But black people, we accept the white Jesus, we accept the Arab belief, we accept everything because we don't have no identity. This man said, Jesus Christ said, you must give up yourself. I'm paraphrasing. He didn't say, give up your life to follow Christ. He didn't say, give up your identity, because Christ said, I'm not sent but into the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So being an Israelite still matters. Giving up your life is your way of life. The way that you live then under Christ is not the way that you live now. And
Come on now.
The last time I checked, Hamites or Africans don't call themselves black. We call ourselves black. When I talk to Hamites, and for those that don't know what a Hamite is, that's Africans. When I talk to Africans, they don't call themselves African American. They don't use that dumb Pan-Africanist. They call themselves by the tribe or village that they live in. And they perceive us as less than. They look at us just as the white man looks at us. And I don't know why we got all this love for Africans when the white man didn't come into Africa to catch us. Africans brought us to the white man for slavery. So let's get, if we're going to talk about that part of history, let's talk about that. But then we also got to find out why didn't they bring up the white Christians that replaced Jesus, gave it to us, and then we can't correct that. Like we wrong for correcting that. That's why I had him repeat what the question was. The question was, what's wrong with us?
Hey, we get you some mama, bro. Like, say the mama love, my guy.
Go ahead. Listen, it's an open forum, so if you got something to say, Adam,
Part of the battle I love.
Can I ask
Let this sizzle in your spirit. You spoke about benefit. We sat on this stage. Wait, shut up. Hey, shut up.
Hold on, guys.
Hold tight, Cap.
You get the good side or you get the bad side?
Wait, Cap, listen. You gotta keep it
No,
respectful.
him listen. He interrupted me.
No. Listen. The interruptions will happen in the passion debate, but the shut ups and all the we gotta keep that.
No. If he interrupt me, if I give somebody respect and they can't respect me, I ain't gotta respect them.
No, Cap.
He's fired up.
I get it.
So, Captain, are you posing?
That ain't really what the Bible say, but I agree. He said there's an echo. I'll try to check that.
Are you posing the question?
Pose the question to who?
To Adam.
I ain't posing no. So what's side you on, moderator?
Captain, listen, man.
What side you on?
Captain just turned up right now. So look, Captain, look.
Side y'all on? Y'all
Check.
on my side or y'all neutral?
So check it
I ain't
out.
asking him nothing.
So Captain, close out. Listen, Captain.
May I say something?
I need you. I want to close out here because right now we're not being productive anymore. Let's close out so we can get over.
Wait, hold on, Bakai. How you trying to close out with me when I'm being interrupted when I was talking? These brothers talked at length. Nobody said nothing. It's a bias. It seems
Captain,
like a bias here.
Captain, continue with your statement, and then we'll give BK and Adam opportunity to
Wait, so my
that.
brother can't talk after me? Y'all changing up the whole flow for the Christians now.
Captain,
is that what we doing?
Captain.
Come on now. Let's not. I don't
But
want to get in victim mode.
We're gonna make sure.
Get your statement going.
No, it's not. Wait, slow down, moderator. It's not a victim mode. But in the first round or the first segment, I spoke. Captain Akai spoke. Those brothers spoke. We gave them the respect, didn't interrupt. When it got a little hot, Adam got in his feelings and talked while I was talking. Now, I don't mind the interruptions. I do this so that when I interrupt them, they can't cry like a little girl. But y'all got to tell me how it's going to go. You said in the beginning, no interruptions.
Right.
That's what you said in the beginning as the moderator. So if he's interrupting, you're changing for him instead of holding to what you said.
So, Captain.
So what are we doing?
So, Captain, I want you to go ahead, close out your statement. We'll let Captain Akai go, and then we'll get over to my brothers.
I like away games. I love away games. So as I was saying, and let this sizzle in your spirit, these brothers did not touch the most important statement that myself and Akkad said. If Christianity is about truth, why did they change the greatest man written in the Bible? Besides God, besides the Most High, Yahweh in the Hebrew, Jesus Christ is the greatest man to exist ever. And if we love Jesus Christ, Yahweh Shah Mashiach, why would we change his image? So when we close our eyes and say, now I lay me down to sleep, are y'all visioning a black man, or are y'all visualizing that white man that was beat into us? You're visualizing that white man. So the most important thing when you ask what is wrong when black people teach about being an Israelite or teach about being in the book is because by the time we got this book in America, Jesus Christ was changed to a whole different race, to a white race and not a black race. And neither one of them addressed why their Christians did that. I yield.
And I would
Captain
like to
Akkad, go
also
ahead.
add, yeah, I would like to also add in that I want to address something that the brother said and said that we hone our old doctrine on, you know, what white people did to us, you know what I'm saying? We start there. When, first of all, that wasn't the question. We answered the question. We started there because that was the question. But to answer what you said, we don't start there. In the ISUBK, or to you Hebrew Israelite doctrine, we teach the origin of black people all the way from Adam. All the way from Adam to Egypt, to leaving out of Egypt. It's you who believes that. And here's something that you don't know. The reason you think we were new is because of white people. White people gave you, oh, you were Nubian kings, you were great Africans. It's because of white people. Yeah, you're a victim of white supremacy, brother. And it's sad because in the host said, yeah, Christian viewers, they're confused. They're confused because of you. That's why they're confused. They've been confused because of you. And when it's time to stand on the question, stick to the question and answer what was posed, you can't answer it. You can't answer it. And the ideal of it is to see what you just did just now is the essence of Christianity. Once you start to hear the truth, you can't handle it. You can't handle it. It riles you up. You can't abide by a standard. And that's Christianity, the Christian church in the essence. The Christian church doesn't have a standard. Even though you got a Bible in your hand full of laws of things for you not to do and not to eat and not to drink and not to put your rod in, you can't abide by a standard. Just like you can't sit here and let this man bring out a point after we just listened to you ramble on about whatever you were saying. That's in essence Christianity, and that's what's embedded in you, brother. I yield.
Adam and BK.
Can I respond right quick? Is that cool?
Absolutely.
Let's get it.
Okay, so first of all, I do want to, go back to something Tazariak said. It's not my intention to offend, so I'll try to make sure I don't interrupt in the future. But he did emphasize the importance of listening, and concerning Hakai over here, I think that he may not be adhering to that because he claimed that I said that they based their whole doctrine on white supremacy and what they did in slavery, so on and so forth. That's not what I said. What I said was as Tazariak was giving his reasons as to why he thinks Christianity is white man's religion, his starting point was to talk about our history in regard to slavery and colonialism and so on and so forth. That was his starting point. And what I'm saying is any view of our history where you frame it around those aspects of our history, I think that it is a white supremacist rendering of history because there's so much more to our people than just starting on the cotton fields. So that's what I actually said. The other piece is too, just to be, and I'm trying to be respectful here. I really am. But if we're making claims and we're being clear in our claims, it's not our responsibility, to help you to understand where we're coming from other than to be clear, right? So just to mean that we actually didn't answer the question. And I would invite anybody who's watching this playback to go back to what it was that BK shared, and they'll see, where it is I'm getting at. Here's where I'm going with this. We answered the question.
So far, this is weak. I ain't gonna lie. So far, this is weak. Would you argue any points better as a Christian? Would you argue any points better as an Israelite? Click the link. Let's hear what you have to say.
Question by making the distinction of what Christianity is. Okay. I'm not trying to be funny, but there's levels to this. So really what we're talking about is what's called the law of identity. It's one of the basic laws of logic. Okay. The law of identity is that everything is identical to itself. So let's just use a quick analogy. If Adam Coleman says that his wife is 5'4" and you know, or 5'7" and black and got with long dreads, and then you see me at the movies with some blonde hair, blue eyed chick, then that means that Adam Coleman's at the movies with somebody that's not his wife. Why? Because we know that in order for that to be my wife, it needs to be how I described it. What I'm saying is you guys are doing the same thing with Christianity. Okay, we're saying that Christianity, and I'm not going to speak over BK, but we define what Christianity is. Again, those essential doctrines: God exists, Jesus rose from the grave, Trinity, Jesus returns, you know, things like that. That's what Christianity is. Okay, what you guys are talking about was not Christianity. The enslavement of our people, the whitewashing of Christian, the whitewashing of Jesus, you know, using colonialism, all of those things. That's not Christianity. Anytime you add something to Christianity, you no longer have Christianity. It's something else. All right. It's not identical to
That's
Christianity.
why you
It's
got to go
something
to
else.
scriptures
So what
that
I'm saying is if you add in white
within
supremacy,
Christianity.
then
Then
already you
somebody
don't
say,
have
I don't care about
Christianity
that.
anymore. You have some sort of heinous monstrosity caricature that is not rightly identified as Christianity.
He's
To
giving
bluntly answer
them
the
a
question,
line right now
is
to
Christianity,
make
has it
their
been
argument
used
more concise and
to
more impactful.
erase black
I'm hoping
identity?
they take
The answer is no. Christianity itself has never been used to erase African or black identity. What has been used is a caricature
See,
wherein
statement right
white
there.
supremacists
You actually got to be able to
added
show
their
that
cultural ills to the
scripture.
mix, and they perpetrated all these things. What we're seeing here is a failure to make distinctions. Critical thinkers ought to be able to make clear distinctions, and I'm seeing a lack of that on the other side of the house here. Lastly, I want to say, just again by way of distinction, there's a distinction to be made between Christianity and Christians. Christianity is what we described earlier. Christians are those who profess and can rightly claim themselves as following Christ. So Christians do all kind of bad things. That would include me or whoever else. But just because a Christian has done something wrong or groups of Christians do something wrong, that doesn't mean that Christianity is at fault. The teachings of Christ, the doctrines that I alluded to earlier in terms of what Christianity is, has never been used in and of itself to erase black identity. It's this heinous caricature that you guys unfortunately are making are not making the right distinctions, which is, I find it interesting that Frederick Douglass, you know, who endured slavery himself, was able to make these distinctions, and yet somehow, you know, all this time later, somehow many of us have lost the ability to do so, and I think that that's really unfortunate. But I'll yield right there.
We gonna let go ahead, BK.
Right? Yeah. So listening is an art form. That's true. So is reading comprehension. That's why I started with defining the term so that nobody can be misconstrued about what we are talking about. So we don't talk past each other. So that's the reason why I started with that term. Two, Cesario, you've been dealing with urban apologists for a minute. You know, none of us think this dude is white. So that's cap, off rip. You know, none of us. Even your boy Vocab don't think he's white. You know what I mean? So that's so just put that. You don't like black Hebrew Israelites, that term? We don't like you saying that we follow white Jesus. So how about we put that aside, right? We could do that, right? And then you said that Frederick Douglass, he saw the distinction, but still followed the religion of his oppressors. I would love for you to cite a source that shows that for us. And that's it.
So actually, I want to jump in here because it's interesting that you actually made that distinction, Adam. That's an incredible distinction between Christianity and what a Christian is. I was actually just talking to my little brother.
I ain't gonna lie, this is why I love the Socratic method. Right now, there's been a lot of back and forth. I would love to have seen some questions being asked to kind of establish an understanding of the other side's view. So I'd be asking a lot more questions and making statements from the onset, so that when I make statements later, it's based on this person's viewpoint rather than what I think about all other Christians that I'm not speaking to. You see what I'm saying? And make you look stupid when you do that. Use the Socratic method. When you use the Socratic method, you can then use the Rogerian method. Socratic method, ask questions. Rogerian method, entertain the answers that you get from asking those questions and debunk them from their own purview. You know what I'm saying? That's when you're able to test your application of the truth or the truth itself, the amount of truth that you have versus what their version is. That's how you get to the meat of it. That's how you able to go home and watch footage of a discussion you have and maybe learn something. Maybe you erred, you know what I'm saying? But it's just a lot of ego, this side versus that side. And I'm gonna say, Israelites, Christians, you always gonna fail when ego comes first. It's natural to come and want to defend what you believe, but the natural is not always what's best. From a natural space, right? We are a type of beast. We are an animal of some sort. But above that is our wisdom, our knowledge, and our understanding that's supposed to be enhanced by the Most High and by Mashiach. You see what I'm saying? We got to rise above what's natural. But I'm not gonna lie, this has been really weak. It's been really weak. I just see a little bit of yammering from both sides. I believe the Christians are dominating the discussion. They sound more intelligent in this, but I also see the BS and I agree with what is being said by the UPK. But I also see how Christians watching this or people who are on the fence are going to think that, you know, the Christians sound a little bit smarter. They are now putting themselves in a box that our brothers have an opportunity to capitalize on, and I would want to see that done. Exactly. Ego on both sides of the discussion, and it's looking real sad. It's looking real weak. I want to see it stepped up a notch. If you had something that you wanted to add, you know, a better angle even from either side, feel free to click the link. Your head ain't going to be better off unless you come up looking for some type of smoke. I might not even entertain it. I want to have a fruitful discussion. How do you see it from the Christian angle? How do you see it from the Israelite angle? Who's cooking with gasoline? Who's misstepping? Who would you like to see turn up a little bit more? And in what area would you like to see them turn up?
The other day about this conversation, and he literally, that's what we talked about, because most people, we don't really understand, many of us, even what these organizations, many of these organizations were really designed, how they were designed or intended to operate very fundamentally. We just judge it based on the members. And that's every religion, organization we know of. We judge it based on the members. So I could see based on what people see, it's a lot of confusion. But I want to actually get back. I want to let my brothers actually respond here to what was stated before we actually move on to the next topic. But
make sure y'all click the link I just put in the chat. We got Bible study tomorrow morning, West Coast time, 11 a.m. 11 a.m. West Coast time. We doing Bible study right here. So click the link. Make sure that you're present. We'll love to have you.
Do you brothers over here, back to you, Captain Tazariak, did you have any response before we went ahead and move forward to the next topic?
You sure? Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I just real quick. I didn't say Frederick Douglass followed this Christianity of white people. I said Frederick Douglass said that we shouldn't be following what the white man gave us for Christianity, but we do. Meaning we kept following him. That's what I meant. I didn't say Frederick Douglass did anything. I said we did it. For all that reading that he did, Christians, black Christians, and here's the other thing too. When he talk about, he tried to use the black Hebrew Israelite connection with apologetics. Apologetics is not in the title. We're not talking about no damn apologetics. We talk about Christianity, and was Christianity the white man's religion? And once you face that they lied about the color of Christ, if they lied about that, what else did they lie about? If we go even further, what verse did they give us in the Bible? They gave us the New Living Translation of Ephesians, the 6th chapter, where it says, slaves, be obedient to your masters. And we still believe that we have to be obedient to our masters. What the Israelites do is bring the truth of what the guy Adam say, first century Christians, that's what he said, first century Christians. We bring the truth of that. So we don't bring out a white Jesus. We bring out a black Jesus. And you know what's important about bringing out a black Jesus? When you tell black people that when black people's history is looked at as slavery, but when you tell them the man that they've been believing in for years as a white man is a black man, you know how inspiring that is? I remember on that episode of Good Times That episode of Good Times when that brother brought that black Jesus out, you know how much good luck they had? And you know who fought him for white Jesus? His mama fought him to put up white Jesus, because that's how mentally oppressive it is in our brain. Right. So in order to get back to the original truth of the New Testament and the original truth of the Bible, we are forced to teach the truth of Jesus Christ, our King.
Think about it like this. If race doesn't matter, all right, let's just ask this question. For those of you who think race don't matter, who think race does matter, who's going to be priests? I'll drop the link for that. Who's going to be priests in the kingdom of heaven on earth? Who's going to be priests? Is it going to be the Gentiles? Is it going to be the Israelites? Race matters. Race matters. How? I can't tell you how you think it matters. My stance is that it matters. The Israelites are going to be the priests. They are going to be the kings. It is going to be their dominion. Gentiles will be present. Gentiles will be able to learn the ways of the Most High, but they won't be the hegemony of the world at that time. That's going to be given to Israel. We think about the 144,000. Who were the 144,000? They are Israelites. Race matters. Who says different? Who wants to say different? Who agrees? Let me see it in the chat.
What else would we do? How foolish is it of us as Israelites to come out and teach the truth and not teach identity? You know, if it wasn't important in the Bible about what Christ looked like, it wouldn't be identified of him in the Old Testament and New Testament. In Daniel's the 10th chapter and Revelation's the first chapter, you get the identity of Christ. So if it's written in the Bible, it must be important. So if it's important enough in the Bible and we want to uproot and upraise and live upright according to Christ, why wouldn't we respect that integrity? That integrity should be respected, but it's not. And when the cats say he answers the question how he want to answer, he's just afraid to admit that the white man gave us a lie. We believed it because he don't want to challenge that white lie. He don't want to challenge the white man and say, you were wrong for giving us a white Jesus. But you know what we do? We do. Jeremiah 28:8 says, many prophets of old prophesy against great kingdoms. And that's what we do. Ephesians the 6th chapter say we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and spiritual wickedness in high places. There ain't a greater spiritual wickedness than the Christian church and Christianity with that white Jesus, with Christmas, with Easter, with everything that they make a smorgasbord of God's belief of God's son. Right. So how are you going to fault us for bringing out that truth? And the only way you could bring out that truth is to condemn the man that gave the truth. Now, the man that condemn the man that gave us the lie. I'm about to be cut off again.
No. I wanted you to address something else.
Okay, go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah, I want you to address this super chat. So shout out to Mr. Phil Fox. He's got 2 super chats comes in. The first one is, what are the core tenets of the doctrine of discovery? And the second is, the doctrine of discovery, yes, was used to push European supremacy, but it was simply a tool and therefore doesn't make Christianity a white man's religion. So what I would like for you to give your detail on how do you explain the doctrine of discovery.
Doctrine of discovery. I'm going to read it right here. Doctrine of discovery is a legal and religious principle that was used to justify the colonization of non-European lands by European nations. The doctrine of discovery was established in the 15th century by a series of papal bulls or declarations issued by the popes. The popes is the Christian church, is the Roman Catholic Church. These documents gave Christian empires the religious authority to invade and claim non-Christian lands. What religious authority was they under? The Catholic Church, the Christianity. So to the guy that gave the super chat, it was a waste of your damn money. It was an absolute waste of your money because it's an absolute lie. And this is what I mean. Like, are y'all going to stand with people that tell the truth or people that tell a lie? Right. I can't believe that somebody paid you to tell me that the doctrine of discovery was not about using the religion of Christianity and the Roman Catholic Church to invade non-Christian land. Anybody can look that up. Anybody go Google right now, doctrine of discovery, and you'll see that's what they use. Christopher Columbus said, in the name of the blessed Trinity, we can enslave these people.
Right.
What are we talking about here?
Can I respond
Like
to
we
that?
got and this what I love Barakatah Yahweh Shai for dropping this truth on ISUBK in 1969 and not being afraid to face our oppressor, to face the white man and tell the truth. This man paid a super chat to lie.
How much?
How much? How much did he pay in the super chat?
Captain, listen, we want to give. Listen, we're gonna come back.
Can we just know how much he paid? How much did he pay?
It was a $20 super chat, Captain. Now listen.
He wasted $20.
Now I want to give Adam a chance to respond, and then we'll go back to Captain Akkad.
Gave him the breath of life.
Okay, so Adam, go ahead and respond. Then we'll go back to Captain Akkad, and then we'll go back to BK. But Adam, can you respond?
So I'll end it there and let Akkad go. But you wanted me to answer the super chat question?
No, I do.
Now, right?
Well, no, the whole time we're gonna come back to Akkad because I specifically want to address this doctrine. So Adam, how do you respond to what the captain has stated?
Yeah, again, I think there's just in regard to Captain Tazari, there's just a continued failure to make important distinctions, right? So the question is not whether or not the doctrine of discovery was wrong. It was absolutely, the doctrine of discovery was wrong and sinful, and everybody who co-signed it, including the Pope and on down, was wrong and sinful. As far as I'm concerned, they probably bust hell wide open. Slavery was wrong and sinful. Any of the ills that you named, you know what I'm saying, we can agree that it was wrong, sinful, wicked, whatever term you want to use. The question is not whether or not those things were wrong. On that, we agree. The question was, has Christianity been used to erase Black identity? And to that, again, I say no. The distinction you're not making, what I said earlier, there's a distinction between Christianity, which is the worldview that I described earlier, Trinity, resurrection, so on and so forth, and Christians, people who proclaim to be Christians, right? So when you think about it, you keep saying they did this, they did that. Well, Christianity is not a they, okay? Christianity is a worldview. So we agree that those professing Christians, were dead wrong. It's just like this, and I'll wrap it up with a brief analogy. I live here in Virginia.
If Christianity, the worldview, is behind the doctrine of discovery, even if you want to say it was a different type of Christianity, it's still Christianity being weaponized and a doctrine being made called the doctrine of discovery. What's being said is that the doctrine of discovery was used then, and it's on the psyche of the Black, the Native, and the Hispanic man today. You can't get around that by making this point again. This is so trash.
Back in 2017, there was that whole incident where Heather Heyer got ran over by a car. You know, the people was out there with tiki torches and so forth. She gets hit by a car and killed. I think it was a Dodge Caravan. Now, nobody went out and protested Dodge Caravans, right? Or no, Dodge Viper, I think it was what. Nobody went out and protested the Dodge factory. Why?
Nobody has to protest
that the car was.
Nobody needs to protest to say Dodge Caravans have been used to run people over. You see what I'm saying? The argument can't be made, but the discussion is not about Dodge Caravans. This is stupid. If the discussion was about if Dodge is a white people's company, a white man's company, the answer would be, yeah, I'm pretty sure Dodge is owned by white people, not some Asians somewhere. This is stupid.
Wasn't the problem. It was the person who was behind the wheel that committed a wicked act. And what I'm saying is Tazariak is making a conflation between the car and the person, right? Christianity is not the problem. It's those people who profess to have been Christians, and most of them lyingly so, and did wicked things in the name of Christianity. And again, I'm calling that a perverse caricature of Christianity, not Christianity itself. Christianity has never been used to erase Black history.
There you have it. I know we were closing out. We kind of jumped in on that idea. I want you, Captain Akkad, go ahead and close out, and we'll come back to BK apologist so you can as well before we get to the next topic.
I have a quick request. After Akkad goes, can I take a 30-second response to what Adam said before you go to Brooklyn?
Well, so
just 30 seconds.
So check this out. This is what we'll do. Would you?
I can hold it. It ain't even that. I because I remember.
Hold it to the next round.
Okay, no problem. That's fine.
Yeah,
I know
Captain
if it was
Cobb.
the other side, they'd have been able to go though.
yeah. I just to the brother. What's his name again? The one out there.
Adam.
Okay, Adam. Adam, brother, do you even know what you're talking about? Like, are we sitting here? I'm trying to understand. I feel sorry for the people in chat. Why do you keep saying Christianity? Why do you keep saying it's not Christianity? It's Christianity.
The grammar
I
matters.
brother, I don't know if you hear yourself, and it's sad because well, Christianity, the religion of Christianity, because Christianity is not in the Bible. What you believe in is not in the Bible at all. It's not in the Bible. But what Christianity is philosophy. Philosophy is another man's ideas. That's why they infuse Christmas with the Bible. That's why they brought in Easter with the Bible. That's why, they bring in paganism with the Bible, because it's another man's ideas to influence his society. You have been influenced by American society. Keep saying Christianity, the Christianity. That's why you, in your mind, you keep saying Christianity because you're creating your own ideas and beliefs. Your beliefs are not based in the truth. They're not based in the truth. They're based in the ideas in your mind. Turn around real quick. Adam, turn around real quick. You see all them books behind you? That's why you're so confused. That's why you're so all them books, all them, the Christianity, the T. It's in your mind, brother. It's in your mind. What you talking about?
That's the most
anti-intellectual
anti-intellectual thing I've heard in a long time, brother. That's crazy.
I'm just letting you know
That's
what
crazy.
you're saying is not in the Bible.
Right.
It's philosophy.
All them
You believe in
books
philosophy, and
you.
philosophy is nothing. Nothing you
spending more
said
time
just now
telling me
is
what I believe
tangible,
than- I'm sorry,
scriptural,
go ahead.
biblically based. That's what
I
I'm
want you-
telling you.
Okay, you spend a lot of time telling me what I
man, I'm
believe, and
done.
you making baseless assertions and not providing
That
a
boy
shred of
don't
evidence or
got no
logic to
discipline to
support
save
it.
his life.
Come on, bro.
BK chiming because BK is pretty stoked.
I'm done, bro. That was crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I can't let a nigga stand next to me and say, see them books all you got back there? That's why you confused. You can't even identify the books. That's crazy. All right, man. I'm about ready to wrap it up. Any questions and comments? Put them in the chat or click the link. I'll entertain you for a little bit longer. We'll let this play, but right now it's the time for questions, comments. Questions or comments? Oh my God. Oh my God. I ain't even gonna lie. That right there, that broke the camel's back for me, man. That broke the camel's back. That was nuts. That made my allergies start acting up. The link is pinned to the top. I'm gonna put it in the comments. I'm from the side, really cursed in and outside. Been building that outline, my soul downside. I'm 16, already dead. No outline, just waiting on my murder like a bus from the south side. Parents tried to shelter me in church, got baptized with stones in my dinner. Praise blood covers that size. Look, bro. That's really crazy. That's really, really crazy. He said you confused because of books, nigga. Debo of the Most High, Shalom, Israel. Christianity is indoctrination. It's not a religion. It's white supremacy. Where was Christians when we was brutally enslaved and our babies fed to alligators? Well, I'll tell you where they was. They was feeding our babies to alligators and brutally enslaving us. You know what I'm saying? I agree. Shout out to Debo of the Most High. Nobody want to click the link. Nobody got questions. I believe race matters. In the Bible, that was the biggest argument made. Who believes race doesn't matter? That's who can click the link. Who believes race doesn't matter? That's who I want to click the link. If you got any questions, you know what I'm saying? We still got time while we wait for somebody to click the link. I do want y'all to make sure that y'all present at Bible study if you're interested. Again, we're going in at 11 a.m. West Coast time. Tomorrow morning, we in the book of Joshua. We're going to be picking up at chapter 14. You done missed a little bit, but ain't no reason you can't get caught up, because you can find the Bible studies listed on our live streams. This is what I'm going to say about Israelites. The reason I know y'all don't be wanting to study is because when we be just reading scriptures and studying, it don't really get no clicks, right? But when we go into controversy, when it's a debate over shit that you don't already know you got your mind made up about, it be all kind of clicks, right? Ain't that right about our people? Tell me I'm wrong. Our people love to talk about how studied we are, but when study time is, very few of us that want to show up. So if you're not that Israelite, make sure that you click that link. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that you could be ready to tune in when Bible study starts. We usually go for about 35 minutes or so. We might go a little longer sometimes, but tomorrow's a full day. It's going to be a pretty straight to the point class. And then, unless y'all get on with your Sunday. We're waiting for somebody to click the link that thinks that race doesn't matter in a biblical sense. We're talking about eschatology. I'm of the stance that there is a salvation for the Gentiles. Gentiles do receive a salvation. I don't believe that Gentiles are equal with the Israelites. All right. The scriptures say what they say about the Israelites being kings and priests. It even says that the Gentiles got to serve a sentence. You know what I'm saying? It's obvious that they're going to learn humility. They're going to learn the ways of the Most High during this time. And them being able to receive that as opposed to destruction with the rest of the world, that's a form of salvation. Being able to come close to the Most High, that's a form of salvation. And being able to come near to him in a spiritual sense. You know what I'm saying? That's a form of salvation. But if you are of the opinion that race don't matter, feel free to click the link. You will not be verbally abused. You'll be treated cordially as long as you are respectful. You know what I mean?
It's pretty stoic about this. BK, how do you want to close us out, man? How do you respond to?
Again, right? Words matter. Words have definitions, right? The Christianity that you like to make fun of is defining what it means to be of Christ. I like to believe that you think that that's in the Bible, right? But being like Christ is in the Bible. And what you're doing is you created this straw man factory, you know what I mean? And you're not talking about what we're talking about. That's why I started with, let's define the term, right? Anything that's antithetical to Christ, we condemn. And if you heard me when I first started, I condemned the wicked white people who enslaved us. I said that in my first thing. So it's not like we're scared to go at white folk. We have no problem. Whoever is going against the gospel, they can catch it. White or you. It really don't matter. Free smoke. You know what I mean? It's free smoke. So please, if you're going to define or you're going to attack Christianity, attack what we actually believe, not the strong man. Because what you're attacking, we attack too. We're against that too. So that's it.
There we have it. So we got that. Actually was really the first topic of the night, guys. Pretty much is Christianity here or used to erase.
I'm not gonna lie. After that invite right there, if they don't take them up on it, it's kind of an L on the Israelite point. You got to take them up on it. Make a point. Let's talk out the point. How, show me how What I'm doing today is white supremacy disguised as good religion. That's the whole point of being here on this stage. One's in the chat if you agree, two's in the chat if you disagree. One's in the chat if you agree, two's in the chat if you disagree.
The identity of black people, and just hearing this, I'm really getting a better understanding of just in general what the Hebrew Israelites
standing on.
Yeah, what they really stand on, and really just their viewpoint on Christianity in general, which is really interesting. Very interesting. Let's actually go ahead. Let's talk about the Fight the Flesh bracelets. Lionel, pull up the Fight the Flesh bracelets before we get over into topic 2.
Yeah, real quick, guys. Listen, I know they want you to turn